Well, hello there, you gorgeous, intelligent, and ever so slightly panicked students. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's me, your academic agony aunt, Dr. Frankie, here to shine a little light, a very sparkly, hopefully helpful light, on that Everest of your academic journey, the dissertation. Now, don't you go running for the hills just yet. We're going to have a bit of a chat, a good old natter, specifically about those wonderfully wild worlds of business, marketing, and why we all buy that extra bar of chocolate we absolutely don't need. Yes, consumer behavior. It's all fascinating stuff, isn't it? Almost as fascinating as who'll be on my imaginary red chair next week. But here's the thing, my darlings. This isn't just about picking a topic that sounds frightfully clever at dinner parties. Oh no, we're on a time frame here, a rather brisk 3-month sprint to the finish line. Think of it like trying to get ready for a big night out when you've only got half an hour. It needs to be manageable, achievable, and still look fabulous at the end. So picking a dissertation topic that you can actually wrestle into submission within that time frame is absolutely, positively paramount. No one wants to see you weeping into your textbooks in month 4, do they? Well, maybe a little for dramatic effect, but mostly no. Today we're going to explore 4 rather lovely types of dissertations that are just perfect for you, business, marketing, and consumer behavior aficionados. These are the ones that won't just get you a good grade, fingers crossed, sparkle sparkle, but will also be, dare I say it, a little bit enjoyable, or at least not entirely soul-destroying. We want you to emerge triumphant, not traumatized. So grab a cuppa, maybe a biscuit or 2, I won't tell, and let's dive into making this dissertation journey a little less eek and a lot more, ooh, I can actually do this. Let's get this show on the road. All right, first up on our glittering academic runway is the literature review dissertation. Now, I know what you're thinking. Literature? Frankie, darling, I signed up for business, not a Bronte Sisters convention. And you'd be right, mostly, but hold your horses, because in the dazzling domain of business and marketing, a literature review isn't about dusty old novels. It's about becoming a super sleuth of existing knowledge, a veritable Sherlock Holmes of scholarly articles. You're basically looking at what everyone else has already said about a topic. Sounds a bit like a gossip session, doesn't it? But a very clever academic one. The beauty of this, especially for you bright sparks in business, is that it lets you get a fantastic panoramic view of a specific area without, and this is the crucial bit for a 3-month dash collecting brand new, raw data. Imagine trying to interview 1,000 CEOs in 12 weeks. It's a recipe for a meltdown, and not the fun, cheesy kind. Instead, you're taking all the brilliant and sometimes not so brilliant work that's already out there, sifting through it and drawing some fabulous new conclusions or identifying a gap. It's like being a DJ, but instead of records, you're mixing academic papers to create a brand new beat of understanding. Think about marketing, for instance. You could do a literature review on how influencer marketing has evolved over the last decade. All the information is out there, articles, case studies, industry reports. Your job is to gather it, critique it, connect the dots, and present a coherent story. Here's what we knew, here's where the thinking is going, and ooh, look, no one's really talked about this specific angle. It's like curating the most amazing exhibition, but with words and theories. And let's be honest, who doesn't love a good exhibition? Especially one you've curated yourself. One of the massive plus points here is that it hones your critical thinking skills like nobody's business. You're not just summarizing. Oh no, that would be far too simple for clever clogs like you. You're evaluating, you're synthesizing, you're saying, well, Professor Snodgrass said this, but Dr. Bumble argued that, and actually, if you look at it my way, it's about finding your voice amongst the academic choir, and perhaps even hitting a new high note that no one else has quite managed. It's intellectual gymnastics, and you'll come out with much stronger analytical muscles. And for those of you focused on consumer behavior, imagine diving into the existing research on, say, the psychological impact of color in branding. There's a treasure trove of studies out there. Your task would be to gather them, compare their findings, perhaps highlight inconsistencies or emerging trends. You could become the go-to expert on why a certain shade of blue makes people trust a bank, or why red makes you want to buy that ridiculously overpriced sports car. It's all there, waiting for your keen eye and sharp mind to make sense of it. The manageability factor is a huge selling point. Because you're working with existing materials, you can, with a good plan, map out your reading, your analysis, and your writing schedule much more predictably. There are fewer terrifying unknowns like waiting for survey responses that never arrive or an interviewee who ghosts you. It's you, the library, or, let's be real, the online databases, and your brilliant brain. It's a contained kind of chaos, the best kind. You're in control of your sources, which in the dissertation game is a lovely, comforting thought. Plus, let's not forget, this kind of dissertation provides a fantastic foundation for any future research you might want to do. If you're thinking of a PhD or a career in research, a literature review is like your basic training. It teaches you the landscape, the key players, the big debates. It's like learning all the dance steps before you try to choreograph your own ballet. And who knows, you might just uncover a gap in the literature that becomes the subject of your next groundbreaking study. See? Already planning for your future stardom. So don't dismiss the literature review as just reading a lot. It's an art form in itself. It's about critical engagement, insightful synthesis, and clear articulation. It's about standing on the shoulders of giants, as they say, and then perhaps doing a little pirouette to show them something new. You're not just a reader, you're an interpreter, a critic, a storyteller of existing knowledge. It's a chance to show off your intellectual prowess without having to chase down a single new survey participant. And honestly, in the world of business and marketing, being able to quickly get up to speed on existing research, to understand the state of play in any given field, is an invaluable skill. Your future boss will love you for it. For example, the main topic might be what's the latest thinking and customer preferences on sustainable packaging. And you'll be able to give a beautifully structured, insightful overview into this topic. All thanks to mastering the literature review. So if you love a good deep dive into what's already known, if you enjoy piecing together a complex puzzle from existing pieces, and if you want a dissertation type that's robust yet wonderfully manageable within that 3-month window, then the literature review dissertation might just be your perfect match. It's the sensible shoe of the dissertation world, but darling, you can make it sparkle like a Jimmy Choo with your brilliant insights. Go on, give it a thought. Next up, my inquisitive darlings, let's talk about the case study dissertation. Oh, this one is for all you aspiring detectives of the business world, those of you who love to get right into the nitty-gritty of a real-life situation. It's like being a fly on the wall, but a very academic fly, taking copious notes and drawing profound conclusions. Think of it as your chance to do a deep dive, a proper investigation into a specific company, a particular marketing campaign, or a fascinating consumer behavior phenomenon. It's wonderfully focused and can be incredibly revealing. Now, what exactly is a case study, I hear you ponder? Well, imagine you're a doctor and a particularly interesting patient walks in. You wouldn't just glance at them and say, "Oh, you've got a bit of a sniffle, take 2 of these and call me in the morning." No, you'd delve into their history, their symptoms, their lifestyle, the whole shebang. A case study dissertation is precisely that, but your patient is a business problem, a marketing success story, or a peculiar pattern of consumer choice. You're examining a single instance, or perhaps a small number of instances, in glorious, painstaking detail. For you consumer behavior enthusiasts, this is where things get really juicy. Picture this. You could do a case study on why a particular viral marketing campaign for a new vegan snack bar was so ridiculously successful. You'd dissect everything, the messaging, the channels used, the target audience's reaction, the cultural context. You'd be looking at it from all angles, like a diamond cutter examining a magnificent gem, trying to understand all its facets. Or perhaps you'd investigate a catastrophic product failure. Why did that self-stirring teapot never take off? The drama. The real magic of a case study is its ability to provide rich, in-depth understanding. You're not just skimming the surface with broad statistics, you're getting down and dirty with the specifics. This means you might be conducting interviews with key people, if feasible and ethical, of course, analyzing company documents, or observing behavior in a particular setting. It's about quality over quantity. One beautifully analyzed case can often tell you more than 100 superficial survey responses, especially when you're trying to understand the why behind something. Let's say you're fascinated by a particular brand's cult-like following. A case study approach would allow you to explore the historical development of that brand, its marketing strategies over time, the way it communicates with its customers, and the kind of community it has built. You could look at Apple, for example, though perhaps choose something a little less gargantuan for a 3-month project. The key is to pick a case that is bounded, specific, and crucially allows you to explore the theoretical concepts you've been learning in your business and marketing modules. One of the strengths of this approach is its real-world relevance. You're not just playing with abstract theories, you're seeing how they pan out in the messy, complicated, and often unpredictable world of actual business. This makes your findings incredibly tangible and often very compelling. Imagine presenting your dissertation, the curious case of the exploding emu burger, a marketing misstep. It's got a ring to it, hasn't it? Your examiners will be hooked, wanting to know what went so disastrously wrong. However, a word to the wise, my little investigators. Choosing your case is paramount. It needs to be a case where you can actually get the information. If you pick a super secretive organization that guards its information like a dragon guards its gold, you're going to have a very frustrating time. So think about access. Are there publicly available documents? Is it a phenomenon you can observe? Could you perhaps focus on how a company is represented in the media? If direct access is tricky, get creative with your sleuthing. And remember, even though you're focusing on a specific case, the goal is often to see what broader lessons can be learned. Does your case study of a small artisanal bakery's successful social media strategy offer insights for other small businesses? Does the failure of a particular tech startup provide cautionary tales for aspiring entrepreneurs? You're looking for those transferable insights, those little nuggets of wisdom that can be applied elsewhere. It's about seeing the universal in the particular. This type of dissertation also allows for a wonderful narrative. You're telling a story after all. The story of a company's rise, a campaign's impact, a consumer trend's emergence. And who doesn't love a good story, especially one that's backed up by solid research and insightful analysis? You can structure it like a compelling investigation, building up the evidence, exploring different angles, and finally presenting your well-reasoned conclusions. It's your academic blockbuster. So if you're someone who loves to dig deep, to understand the intricate workings of a specific situation, and to tell a compelling evidence-based story, then the case study dissertation could be your starring role. It's a chance to become a mini expert on something truly fascinating and to produce a piece of work that's both academically rigorous and wonderfully readable. Just make sure your chosen case is intriguing enough to keep you interested for 3 whole months. Choose wisely, my dears, and you could unearth some real gems. All right, my data-driven darlings, let's move on to our third glamorous option, the survey-based dissertation. Now, this is for those of you who love to know what the people think. It's your chance to go out there, metaphorically speaking, with your clipboard and your carefully crafted questions, and gather opinions, attitudes, and behaviors directly from the source. Think of yourselves as pollsters of the business world, taking the pulse of the market or the mood of the consumer. It's all very democratic, isn't it? Giving the people a voice. The survey dissertation, at its heart, is about collecting quantitative or qualitative data, or a bit of both if you're feeling fancy, from a sample of people to answer your research questions. You design a questionnaire, and oh, the art of designing a good questionnaire, that's a skill in itself, like crafting the perfect witty comeback. You distribute it to your target audience, and then you get to play with all the lovely data that comes flooding back, or sometimes trickling back. We'll get to that. Now, for those of you with a passion for sustainability in marketing, and bravo to you, the planet needs more heroes like you. A survey can be an absolute godsend. Imagine you want to find out if consumers are willing to pay more for sustainably packaged goods, or perhaps you want to understand what kind of green marketing messages resonate most effectively with millennials. A survey is your direct line to those answers. You can ask them directly. Isn't that marvelous? No more guessing. The beauty of a survey is its potential reach. While a case study goes deep, a survey can go wide. You can potentially gather insights from hundreds, even thousands of people, depending on your distribution strategy and, let's be frank, your charm in convincing people to fill it out. This allows you to identify trends, patterns, and correlations within a larger population group. Are older consumers less concerned about data privacy and online shopping than younger ones? A survey could tell you. However, designing that survey is where the real craft comes in. It's not just a random list of questions you scribbled on a napkin during a particularly dull lecture. Oh no! Each question must be precise, unbiased, and directly relevant to your research objectives. You need to think about question types, multiple choice Likert scales, the strongly agree to strongly disagree ones, always a classic. Open-ended questions for those lovely rich quotes. It's like preparing for a very important interview, but you're interviewing hundreds of people at once through the medium of a form. And then there's the sampling. Who are you going to ask? You can't just accost random strangers in the street, tempting as it might be. You need a defined target population and a strategy for reaching a representative sample of them. This is where things can get a bit technical, but fear not. There are plenty of established methods to guide you. It's all part of the academic adventure, like navigating a tricky maze to get to the treasure. The treasure, in this case, being statistically significant results. Let's talk about the sustainability angle again. You could design a survey to explore consumer attitudes towards fast fashion versus slow fashion. Are people aware of the environmental impact? Does this awareness translate into actual purchasing behavior? What are the barriers preventing them from choosing more sustainable options? These are all fascinating questions in marketing that a well-designed survey can help you explore. You could uncover some really impactful findings that could even influence how companies approach their ethical marketing. One of the challenges, and let's be honest, every good diva has her challenges, is getting responses. People are busy, they have the attention span of a gnat sometimes, and survey fatigue is a real thing. So you need to make your survey appealing, concise, and easy to complete. Maybe offer a small incentive if your ethics committee and budget allow, a prize draw for a year's supply of fair trade coffee perhaps. Or just rely on the goodness of human nature, which surprisingly can sometimes work wonders. Once the data starts rolling in, then the fun begins for you numbers people. You get to analyze it, run statistical tests, don't faint, they're not as scary as they sound, create beautiful charts and graphs, and basically make sense of all those responses. It's like being a data DJ again, but this time you're mixing numbers to create a symphony of insights. You'll be looking for those aha moments, those statistically significant differences that make your academic heart go pitter-patter. So if you're curious about what large groups of people think or do, if you have a knack for crafting clear questions, and if you don't mind a bit of number crunching or learning how to do it, then the survey-based dissertation could be your path to glory. Especially if you're focusing on a hot topic like sustainability and marketing, understanding public opinion and behavior is absolutely key. Just remember to pilot your survey first. Test it on a few long-suffering friends to iron out any confusing bits. You wouldn't want your magnum opus to be derailed by a rogue typo, would you? And finally, my clever cookies, we arrive at our fourth fabulous dissertation type, the secondary data analysis. Now this one is for the smart, efficient, and perhaps ever so slightly lazy, in a good way, darling, in a strategic way, researcher. Why? Because, as the name suggests, you're using data that someone has already gone to the trouble of collecting. It's like arriving at a party after all the stressful setup is done, and you just get to enjoy the perfectly arranged canapes and scintillating conversation. Marvelous! So, what is secondary data? Well, it's data that was collected by other researchers, government agencies, market research firms, or other organizations for their own purposes, but which you can now access and reanalyze to answer unique research questions. Think of vast data sets from national statistics offices, industry reports brimming with figures, or even publicly available company data. It's a veritable treasure trove just waiting for your brilliant mind to unlock its secrets. It's like finding a vintage Chanel jacket in a charity shop. All the quality, but you didn't have to design it from scratch. For those of you interested in ethical marketing practices, a hugely important area, and one close to my own heart because no one likes a shady marketer, do they? Secondary data can be incredibly powerful. You could, for instance, analyze existing industry reports on corporate social responsibility disclosures to see if companies that claim to be ethical actually follow through. Or you could use publicly available data on advertising standards complaints to identify patterns in unethical advertising practices within a particular sector. The possibilities are quite dazzling. One of the biggest advantages of this approach, especially for a 3-month dissertation, is the time and cost saving. Primary data collection, like running surveys or conducting interviews, can be incredibly time-consuming and sometimes expensive. With secondary data, that legwork has already been done. You can dive straight into the analysis phase much quicker, which, when the clock is ticking like a particularly impatient, strictly-come-dancing judge, is a massive bonus. More time for thinking, less time for chasing. Now you might be thinking, but Frankie, if someone else collected the data, how can it be dissertation? But that's where your genius comes in. Your contribution lies in the fresh perspective you bring, the new questions you ask of that existing data, the unique way you analyze and interpret it. You might combine data sets in novel ways, or apply a theoretical framework that hasn't been used with that data before. You're not just reheating leftovers, you're creating a gourmet meal from high-quality, pre-sourced ingredients. Let's consider ethical marketing again. Perhaps there's a large data set available from a market research company about consumer trust in brands. You could reanalyze this data, specifically looking at how different demographic groups perceive the ethical statements made by companies in their advertising. Or you could compare data on ethical claims with data on actual company performance on environmental or social metrics. You're adding a new layer of analysis, a new interpretation that wasn't the original purpose of the data collection. Of course, it's not all champagne and roses. You need to be a bit of a data detective to find the data set. It needs to be relevant to your research question, reliable, and you need to understand how it was collected. What were its limitations? What were the original researchers trying to achieve? You can't just take any old numbers and run with them. Due diligence is key, my darlings. You need to critically evaluate the source, just like you would with any academic reference. Another important consideration, especially when we're talking about ethical marketing, is the ethics of using the data itself. Is it anonymized? Do you have permission to use it for research purposes? These are important hurdles to clear, but often large official data sets from government bodies or reputable research institutions are specifically designed to be used by other researchers, so they've already thought about these things. Phew! Always check the small print, though. The analytical skills you develop with a secondary data analysis dissertation are highly transferable. In the business world, managers are constantly bombarded with data. Being able to take a dataset, understand its strengths and weaknesses, analyze it intelligently, and draw meaningful conclusions is an incredibly valuable skill. You'll be the one in the meeting who can say, well, according to these figures, if we look at it, weigh, and everyone will be terribly impressed. So if you're someone who enjoys the analytical side of research, if you're good at seeing new patterns in existing information, and if the thought of collecting your own primary data within 3 months brings you out in a cold sweat, then the secondary data analysis dissertation could be your golden ticket. It's efficient, it can be incredibly powerful, and it allows you to tackle big questions using robust existing information. It's the epitome of working smarter, not just harder. And who doesn't want a bit of that smart sparkle in their academic life? Well, there you have it, my academic superstars. 4 rather splendid avenues for your dissertation journey, each with its own unique charm and, let's be honest, its own little quirks. Whether you fancy yourself as a literary detective, A case study connoisseur, a survey superstar, or a secondary data demon, the most important thing is to choose a path that genuinely sparks your interest. Think about what makes you go, "Ooh, tell me more," because that curiosity will be your best friend during those late-night library sessions. And of course, consider your future ambitions. Which type of project will best showcase the skills you want to highlight to future employers? It's your show after all. Now, before you dash off, brimming with ideas and possibly a mild sense of impending doom, don't worry, it's normal. Remember that 3-month time frame we talked about at the beginning? It's a sprint, not a marathon stroll in the park. So while ambition is fabulous, feasibility is your fairy godmother here. Choose a topic and a methodology that you can realistically tackle, research thoroughly, and write up beautifully within the given time. It's far better to do a brilliant job on a well-scoped project than a rushed job on something overly ambitious. Think smart, my darlings. So go forth, choose wisely, and may your research be fruitful, your writing be eloquent, and your coffee be strong. I have every faith in you. You've got this. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I hear my red chair calling, or perhaps it's just the kettle. Either way, best of luck with your dissertations, and I'll see you on the other side, hopefully with a first-class honours certificate in hand. Ta-ta for now.